From Washington, the McLaughlin Group, the American original. For over 3 decades, the sharpest minds, best sources, hardest talk.
Issue 1, Flash Boys.
I can confirm that we at the United States Department of Justice are investigating this practice to determine whether it violates insider trading laws.
High-frequency trading, the computerized buying and selling of stock shares at speeds measured in milliseconds, that's 1/1000th of a second, is now under review by the Justice Department and the Securities and Exchange Commission. High-frequency trading, or HFT, has become controversial since the publication in April of the best-selling Flash Boys, A Wall Street Revolt, by Michael Lewis. The former Solomon Brothers bond salesman portrays HFT as a 2-tiered class system where traders profiteer at the expense of ordinary stock investors. Here's how it works. Stock exchanges, such as the New York Stock Exchange, sell bulk information about pending buy and sell orders to high-frequency trading firms. These firms use computers and proprietary software, or algorithms, to analyze that data and calculate the price levels of stocks at such high speeds that they can buy or sell at fractions of a second in advance of the orders placed by other investors, thereby locking in small profits per share. Multiplied by millions of trades, high-frequency trading is highly lucrative. It now constitutes 50% of all stock trades on U.S. exchanges. Is it unfair? Well, those traders with the fastest computers and best software have an advantage over the rest. Is it illegal? Well, it doesn't clearly violate insider trading laws, which bar profiting from confidential information. Nor is it wire fraud, which hinges on depriving a person of their property, or front-running, when a broker buys in advance of a client's order, a practice barred by the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. High-frequency trading falls into a more familiar category, the technological disruption that is convulsing all aspects of American life and industry, from personal privacy and how we communicate, to data mining of medical records and customer transactions, to driverless cars and drones, many believe. High-frequency trading. The question is it advancing too fast for policymakers and regulators to keep up with it? Pat Buchanan.
John, I don't see this as really that nefarious a thing as our friend Michael Lewis, who I met 20 years ago when he wrote Liar's Poker. He's really knowledgeable. What this is these computers at enormous speeds are fighting against other computers for tiny changes in the market. Say if someone sold 10 million shares and they catch it ahead of time, and the computers are battling the computers, and the public, I think, half of them will benefit each time and half of it will lose from each trade that's going on. So I don't see the real malevolence here in this thing, but it's really something that ought to be looked at, and I think it's something that ought to be looked at very, very closely. It is a form of high-speed insider trading by computers against computers.
Well, that doesn't sound very fair, does it, Eleanor?
It's gaming the system, and it's basically the rich versus the super rich, and the rest of America is on the sidelines.
Wait a minute now.
Are you knocking Warren to get on this?
You're not knocking stock market investment, are you?
No, investing is fine, but this is people who can locate their servers near Wall Street, and actually is a competition to get as close as you can to Wall Street, I'm told. And it's working on algorithms. It's substituting computer data. You eliminate human judgment, and a certain number of people play this game, and again the rest of America is playing by a different set of rules. There is an inherent unfairness about this, I believe. It's beyond the scope of regulators. As I said, I'm waiting for Elizabeth Warren, who understands banking and finance issues, to get on this. So far she's got too many other things on her plate. She hasn't gotten to this yet.
Well, maybe Hillary is advancing her position.
Well, Hillary Clinton is going to have plenty to say about finances and so forth. I don't know that this is at the top of her list.
I mean, advancing her opponent's position, theoretically, the woman you're talking about. Mort.
Look, if you look at the history of trading on Wall Street going back decades, okay, there are people who have a technical advantage, which is they're able to get information before the broader market and to trade on it. This just changes the speed of it and changes the availability of this information. I think this is just going to continue. I don't know how you deal with it. I'm not saying it's fair, but there is no way of making sure that all information is equally distributed. And people are just going to have an advantage, whether it's the training speed, the trading speeds, or what have you. And that's the nature of the market.
Tom, Mort is throwing his hands in the air and say, what can you do about it? You can't stop it. Do you believe that?
You can empower the SEC with greater resources to go after investigations. I mean, there's the big question about the FBI, for example, whether there are too many people in FBI counterterrorism and not enough in financial crimes. But I would say one of the advantages to this, to lower level investors, is that the reduction of the spread, actually, with these supercomputers, with the high frequency trading, is that actually all of us, to some degree, benefit from greater liquidity in the market. The simple fact, though, is that technology, you know, with capitalism, the technology will follow the money trail. So it's something we have to grapple with. But let's look at the whole picture. And I do think there are advantages to this. And again, it isn't insider trading so much as it is technology taking advantage of it.
So you don't think that flash traders have an advantage over non-flash traders?
Yes, they do. They make money on these things, John, but look, the guys up there on Wall Street have always had an advantage. They're getting the information before everybody else, and people are out. But now they got this new, hugely sophisticated computer way of doing it. They now don't get hours ahead of a time or minutes ahead of knowing about the trade. It's in milliseconds, but it's in computers warring against the computers.
Yeah, but there are several investigations, and they are looking into whether it violates insider trader rules. I mean, again, it gives certain people a special advantage, which is not the American way.
Okay, hold on. Revelation or rant?
High-frequency traders say that their practice benefits markets and long-term investors by increasing liquidity and cutting transaction costs. Little of this appears in Lewis's book, however. A shortcoming one reviewer noted, quote, "The lack of counterbalancing voices means that Flash Boys sometimes feels more like a rant than an investigation," unquote.
Question, if flash traders are ripping off ordinary investors, as Lewis says, why are so many ordinary investors flocking to the stock market, Mort?
Well, primarily because they think they're going to make money in the stock market. Let's start with that. And if you follow the stock market for the last several years, people have made a lot of money in the stock market. With all due respect, it is not because of flash traders. It's because of lower interest rates, okay? That has pushed up the market values. And I think that's still the fundamental drive. But people look for what's going to happen to stocks based on the fundamental economics and not on this. This is a very small portion of what might be happening. And as Pat was saying, it has been going on forever in the stock market.
Now, have you advantaged yourself by flash trading?
No, I almost never trade in the stock market. I can't ever have said I've traded in stock market.
Do you trade through any broker?
I don't trade in the stock market. Never. I never have. I invest in the stock market. I do not trade.
What is the secret of your success if you don't trade in the stock market?
Because I have a much longer term view than milliseconds, okay? That's just the way I've always been in my life. What can I tell you?
You derive your wealth from real estate.
Well, from real estate and from other things, but it's always long-term investment, whether it's publishing or real estate or whatever. I've never gone into a short term.
You try to discourage people from playing the market.
I think you have to be very careful. I would rather invest through mutual funds or other people who have a greater expertise than the average American going in and picking out stocks.
I take it that you play the market a lot, is that
right? I have a very small portfolio I hope will grow one day, but I do enjoy, you know, studying the market and trying, again, it's the same point with Mort made, that you want to take advantage from an economic opportunity. You know, the recession has made depreciation in value and trying to get on that before it goes up.
Half of Americans are not invested in the stock market, and part of it is because they feel like it's somehow rigged against them. And I think this adds to that perception.
Because they don't have any money to invest.
Exit question. Does high-frequency trading help or harm individual investors? Pat Buchanan.
It's 50-50, John. Every time one trade is made, it either goes down and half of the people are happy, it goes up, other half of the people are unhappy.
It's a negative because, again, it benefits a small number of people and at the expense of the greater good. These people don't make anything or contribute to society. They're just pushing computer buttons.
Okay. Tom?
I think actually in the terms of the reduction of the spread, there is an advantage for lower level investors, and I think that's reflected in why it has support both in regulatory areas and also actually on the stock market.
Mort?
Yes, I agree with that. I think it's just inevitable. It's a part of the system of the way we invest in the stock market. It's been going on for years in one form or another. It's going to continue to go on.
For anyone other than day traders, the advantage is negligible. Don't forget the McLaughlin Group has its own website, and you can watch this program or earlier programs on the web at any time from anywhere in the world at McLaughlin.com. Could anything be simpler? McLaughlin.com, or more character building. Issue 2, Obama's labor rates.
What grade would you give yourself for this year?
Good solid B+.
President Obama has always had a fairly high estimate of his own job performance. His recent exclusive interview on Air Force One with The Economist magazine is no exception. Despite presidential ratings averaging an anemic 41% and 55% disapproval, in a 2 months ago poll from Quinnipiac University showing a plurality of Americans rating him as the worst president since World War II, topping George W. Bush, Richard Nixon, and Jimmy Carter for that dubious distinction, President Obama thinks he's doing well. Get this. His Russian reset, he says, worked.
We had a very productive relationship with President Medvedev. We got a lot of things done that we needed to get done. We have to respond with resolve in what are effectively regional challenges that Russia presents. We have to make sure that they don't escalate where suddenly nuclear weapons are back in the discussion of foreign policy. And as long as we do that, then I think history's on our side.
How about the economy with GDP growth mired at 1% and the most sluggish recovery in post-war history?
Since I have come into office, there is almost no economic metric by which you couldn't say that the U.S. economy is better and that corporate bottom lines are better. None.
Regarding security in Africa, where Libya is aflame, ISIS is on the ascendant, and Boko Haram waging war in Nigeria, where some 300 kidnapped schoolgirls remain missing, President Obama says this.
A U.S. security presence is always a source of ambivalence everywhere in the world. If we're not there, people think we're neglecting them. If we're there, then they think we're militarizing a region. Right now, I think we got it about right.